So what you see there is CNC plasma cutter I've been working on. I'm sure you guys will see a little bit of that in coming videos. I'm moving it out to my dad's shop so I can get some more room in here. So that's what we're going to do next. Alright, first things first, let's get this front end up off the ground. Alright guys, so that is the tire mounted up. It's this 32's stock. So if you see, there's not much room behind here, like maybe a ½ an inch. And also up front, got hardly anything. And looks like we got a little bit of up travel, but not really enough. So this is where you got to make decisions. And I see a lot of guys, they take the flare off. Actually, they mark a line, that outer edge. They take the flare off and then cut that. Well, I like the flare. And I'd like to keep it as much as possible. Obviously it's not going to work here on the back, but I feel like if we cut it here and kind of angled that out, same with the front. I don't know what to do about the end cap yet, but we might just take that off. But just make it kind of fit the new opening. I think that's the best way to do it. So I think what I'm going to do is take the tire back off, and we're going to take the flare off, stick the tire back on, and see where we got to trim the fender, see what other obstacles we got. Alright, so it looks like about 7 of these things all the way around this edge. Alright guys, next up we're going to take this bumper end cap off. So it looks like you get 2 screws there. You got 1 here, but looks like somebody's already took that off. And looks like 1 right here. There's 1 right here too. Here's the fog light opening. There's 1 right there. We got the tire back on. You can see how close it is back here. I'd say we got maybe an inch. The front seems pretty good. I guess we will have to trim a little bit. I have to trim this little corner here. A full lock. This horn up here is pretty close, but I think we could flip that around on the support right here, and that'll be fine. The back, you know, that's all the further you can turn. Granted, this is just sitting here. You know, if you're going over bumps and stuff, you hit a speed bump or a curb or something, you know, the tire's going to go up, so that travel is going to be up in this direction. I think what I want to do first is kind of follow this contour up in this area. I think just to get past where we're at right now, I might cut right here, or maybe I'll mark out an inch from this edge, an inch back, and see where that gets us. There is a hole down here for the flare that's most likely going to be gone by the end of this. So I think if we cut an inch back from this point, that'll give us kind of a starting point. Look at that. Now, it's sitting on another flange behind there. I'll bring you guys in to see that. So right now, the tire is clearing this edge that we just cut off, but it's hitting right here now. And you can see these dimples here. These are spot welds. You do not want to cut through those. So I think the next step, make some cuts around these, you know, top and bottom, down here, down there. So that way we can just fold this over onto the floor pan. And that should give us enough room. What we're trying to get to is lock to lock, full lock to lock swing of the tire. Just that right height. And then we can adjust from there going up. So this is just kind of a good starting point right here. I'm gonna make a cut down here, kind of square this up, kind of go straight along here, and I think my first cut's gonna be right here, and then the next one will be just below this, above it, below this one, above that one, below this one, above that one, and that'll give us the ability to fold this over. All right, so this is what I got. We might have to go up higher later on, but this will at least get the tire to move past it right now, and then we can worry about up travel. I'm honestly, I don't know how much up travel we're gonna have, because as you can see, you know, we've only got like 4 inches here, you know, maybe before the bump stop would actually well, this cup would actually touch this base. But if you see from my other video, I got extended bump stops that we're going to put in here to limit that up travel. We'll get the tire back on and make sure that it passes underneath this, and then we'll worry about flexing it out later. Alright, we got the tire back on and we're turned all the way to the lock this time. And there is no room right there. The unfortunate part about that is just behind where we cut here, that's the floor pan. So to get any kind of up travel, we got to clearance that floor pan, which I'm not too keen on doing. So I think the next step is to turn the wheel over, maybe even take it off again. But you know, we gotta clearance this floor pan now. Now, I wouldn't recommend this for everybody, because you're basically, once you bend that floor pan, there's a good chance that you're not going to be able to bend it back. On the case of this Jeep, the floor pan is actually rusted right here, so bending it back isn't really going to make a difference, because they're actually going to get replaced up to that point. So just to get a little bit more clearance, I'm going to bend that back with the hammer. Alright, let's say you don't want to bend your floor back, you know, and you don't want to cut into it like this at all. What you can actually do, instead of doing that, you can actually come up here, and you see this bolt right here? You can actually loosen that and turn that out. What that is a stop for your steering, and that will limit how far you can turn the wheel, so it won't rub back here. Unfortunately, what that's going to do is it's going to make your turning radius a lot worse. But you know, you got to pick and choose what you want. It's either bend your floor back or limit your travel. So those are two options. I'm gonna bend the floor back because you can even see the little rust spot here. It's not really gonna make a difference because I'm gonna replace the floor up to this point. Let's get to bending. Alright, now you can see we got some room back here. Looks like shit, but you know, got plenty of room back here. That's pretty much what you got to do. I might pretty this up a little, but at the same time, it's not going to be a show vehicle. Good idea would be to kind of paint this, or better yet, put some seam sealer right across this. Just coat this whole area, because you know, you don't want water and stuff getting up in here and then ended up with rust holes like this thing. Now we got the back all sorted out, we can move on to the front. So you can see this wiring and stuff for the windshield washers, and then also the horn. The horn, we're just going to take this bracket off, turn it 180 degrees, and bolt it on the other side of this bracket here. So let's do that. Alright, kind of see what the clearances are here. You know, you got maybe ½ inch right here. So I'm thinking we'll cut kind of an angle, kind of follow the tire. Might lose this hole, so we'll probably just cut you know, something like that. Kind of give it a little bit of clearance there. What we run into is down in this corner, this flare actually wraps around this edge right here. So I'm thinking we'll have to cut everything that goes underneath the fender, and that way we can take this flare and move it up, you know, and it'll actually stay tucked up against the body. Okay, so I decided to flex the front end a little bit. As you can see, the Jeep's leaning pretty good right now. I don't have any bump stops on this, like, at all. The rears are gone, the fronts are gone. So I just kind of flexed it as high as my jack will let me. So you can probably see the tire on the passenger side is on the ground, and this one's about, I don't know, 12 inches off the ground. So I wanted to just kind of see what limitations we got, and kind of rotating the tire. Everything seems to clear pretty well. You can see there, got some room. But the rear is kind of getting close. And I'd like to open this up just a little bit more. I'm basically doing that because if I want to stretch this back edge of the flare, I don't want to make it fit this curve and then find out I needed to make it, you know, flare it out more. So I think what I'm gonna do is, just for simplicity, I'm going to cut this edge off, because the mounting brackets that I'm going to use, I'm going to bolt them right to this face, and then they'll come out, and then the flare will sit on here. So cutting this edge will make that easier. So if we cut this edge, that'll get the fender away from the tire, and I'm thinking, you know, another inch from the circumference of the tire should be good. So now I'm putting together some brackets. I bought these from my local hardware store. They're just a 2-inch angle, 5/8 wide, and it's got 4 holes in it. So what I'm doing now is taking a rotary burr and opening this hole up, kind of centering it to fit one of these, they call them U-nuts. These are just a 1/4 U-nut, and that I'm just gonna put inside these factory holes, kind of like that, and then we'll set the flare on top of it. Just for reference, looks like we got about 4.5 inches to the very top of that bump stop cup. And just measuring the bump stop, we get about, looks like we got 5 inches. So as it sits right now, we'd be compressing the bump stop, I'm guessing, a 1/2 inch. I don't know what the compress height of these are, but I imagine that's a lot more than a 1/2 inch. So, good chance that you would have to run a puck on the bottom just to get your keep your tire out of your fender well at this point. I don't honestly think you can go any further up from this point, because right now the tire is about 1/4 inch away from this little hump here. And you could beat that up out of the way, but you know, at some point you have to decide what your limitation is on your up travel. To me, this is where this height right here is as high as I want the tire to go, because in the back here we're about 1 inch away, and it's moving up. You can see I've actually bent more of this lip over just to kind of clear it, but you know, that's as close as I want to get. So from here on out, we if it starts rubbing the fenders, we're just gonna add pucks here, which I'll have to get this back down on its tires and check to see the distance between this bump stop and the actual axle housing, because there's a good chance that with this and a puck you won't have any up travel. You'll just be basically riding on this, and that's not good. So I got the brackets on. Got them. You can kind of see them sticking out there. I think they'll work. The tape is just kind of to hold it against the fender, and that tape's just to hold it back, so you can kind of get an idea of how it's gonna look. But we still got full range of motion. It's kind of close right here, but I think that'll be all right. So now all I got to do is secure these brackets to the fender flare, kind of sort out what I want to do on the back corner here. It's kind of interesting. I haven't decided whether I want to remove this piece or not. I was thinking about just cutting it so this flare can push up against there, and you know, kind of remove this gap you see here. I think it's turning out pretty well though. Well, I think that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys learned something. Next week we're going to tackle the rear, see what we got to do there. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.